Good day everyone, and a very warm welcome back to the channel. I just want to say thank you for each and every one of you for tuning in. I know I've been gone for quite a while, but today we are back at it. So first, what you want to do is to take off your front wheels, and I would suggest you do this both sides before actually starting any work. So next you'll have a look at your strut, which you are going to be replacing. And now what you'll see me starting to do here is to loosen the bolt at the bottom by the knuckle or the clamp holding the strut tower in place. So you'll wiggle that around and you'll see it actually relieves a bit. Next, I will be working on the front swing support or your sway bar linkage. Now note that if you jacked up the entire front end, if both tires are in the air, you will have no tension on the sway bar and you would not need to do what I am doing now. You'll be able to take it out by hand easily. Next, you guys will see that I am compressing the springs. So these clamps, I do not recommend them. They are very poorly designed. So you see me actually using an alternative type of wrench to compress these. And once it was compressed, the reason I had to compress it so severe is that the strut that's in here is not designed for this car. I don't know what strut it is. And now I'm actually going to show you how to do this without having two sets of jacks. So if you do not have two sets of jacks, it's not a problem. You can release the strut from the knuckle, and all you do is you tie the knuckle back towards the car. This will make so that you do not pull on any of your brake lines or any of the electronic wires like the speed wheel sensor. Once that is all tied back, next we'll be moving on to the bolts on the top of the strut tower. These are found within your engine bay, so you'll need to pop your hood for this. And these are a size 13 as well. Once you have released these fully, your strut will be free. You'll be able to take out the complete assembly. So next we're on the opposite side now. Once again relieving the bolt on the knuckle itself at the bottom by the strut. And I just relieve it a little bit more than I need to so that I can wiggle the knuckle back and forth and completely release the knuckle from the strut. Once the strut's released, I once again use the belt to tie the knuckle towards the car so that we do not put any tension on the brake lines and any of the electronical wires, once again like the wheel speed sensor. This is just so that you do not need multiple jacks to do this job. Next we move on to the front swing support or your sway bar linkage. And this one we will not actually remove completely. We'll use this to support the strut. So next all I'll be doing is to release the 13mm nuts found on the top of the strut tower in the engine bay. And we'll take them out all the way so that the strut is free. And now we'll take out the sway bar linkage, and here you will see that you can actually take it out by hand since the entire car's front end is in the air now. Next we'll be moving on to the strut itself. So here you'll see me compressing the springs. I'll take 3 on one side and I'll compress this as far as I can. So here you'll see that clamp is completely compressed now. Next I'll be moving on to the top nut, which I will be releasing so that I can take the entire assembly apart. And there you can see the top of the strut tower actually coming apart, and then the spring retainer is still in place, held by some tension. So I tensioned the opposite side as well to try and release this. There was a slight bit tension still, but just pressing it on the ground, it released. And the entire assembly came apart. So using these compressors wasn't ideal. As you can see, I do not have enough spring compression to actually take it out without having to press it somehow. So I turned the spring compressor around towards the inside, which then gave me 3 spring compressions on one side and 3 spring compressions on the other opposite side, instead of having 3 and 2. So this made that I had more than enough space to work with and to install the spring itself. Next, you'll be putting in the rubber. Make sure this rubber isn't broken or missing, as this will cause a lot of squeaking on your car. Next, we'll put on the spring, and with that comes the foam stop stock. Do not forget to put this in, as this adds some rigidity to the entire unit. Should you go over a bump and bottom out, this will actually absorb another load of the shock. And next we'll be putting on the top spring stop, which also has a rubber. Make sure those rubbers are installed with that top stop. And then we'll put on the spindle. Now once you've pressed this on, as you can see, I just have enough space there for the nut to actually fit on. But it doesn't matter how tight you turn this, that top spindle should always be able to spin freely. If it cannot spin freely, you made a mistake somewhere. So I did not have the right spanner or something that could fit there which I could use, so I used an alternative of an Allen key and using a spanner to lock it or to extend the grip, and I used a vice grip on my socket. So next I can start relieving the spring compressors to get the spring back into its original place. So there I'll just be breaking it free, and the first one is out. The second one you will see is now on the inside, and I used my small spanner to actually relieve it from the bottom, but once it was relieved I just pushed it aside and I used my hammer to knock it out of place at the top. This was fairly easy to do. It jumped back into place and the assembly was complete. Right there you'll see there's a mark on your spindle which you need to line up with those 2 holes. So once you insert the strut back into the tower, make sure those holes line up and just tighten down the nuts to hold the assembly into place. Next, relieve the belt that is holding the knuckle into place and insert the strut tower. Here you'll see me using my jack to actually jack up under the lower control arm to seat the strut in its lower place. So this is easy to do, and once you start actually jacking up the side of the car, you can be assured that it is snugly into its place, and you can move on to your front swing support or your sway bar linkage to tie that in. As you can see, it was extremely easy to put back into place as my entire front end is still in the air. Next we'll be just tightening that down, and then as we reposition the camera to the bottom bolt on the knuckle, we'll be tightening that down as well, and then we will be releasing the jack. Now everything's back into place and assembled, and we can go on to getting the wheel back onto the hub. Just taking out these bolts, and in comes the wheel. We'll be tying that back into place and we'll be done. And as always, I thank each and every one of you for supporting my channel and actually tuning in to watch my content. You guys are what make my channel work, and I'll see you guys on the next one.